And now to the war in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the intense phase of fighting in Rafah in southern Gaza is nearly over, but this does not mean that the war is coming to an end. He says the war would continue until Hamas is completely driven from power. According to him, the Israeli military will soon be able to redeploy troops to the border with Lebanon, where exchanges of fire with Hezbollah have been escalating. Meanwhile, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant is starting a visit to Washington to discuss the war in Gaza and the escalating tensions with Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran. Meanwhile, the European Union is seriously concerned about the escalation of tensions between Israel and Lebanon. Speaking to reporters in Luxembourg, the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Josep Borrell, warned that the chances of the war in Gaza igniting a wider conflict is increasing. He adds that the risk of the war affecting the south of Lebanon and spilling over is of great concern as tensions grow daily. Mr. Borrell said that he was much more worried now about conflict between Israeli Defense Forces and Hezbollah than before, as there have been more bombings on both sides of the border with Lebanon. In the meantime, thousands of protesters gathered in Tel Aviv over the weekend to rally against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government and call for the release of the remaining hostages held by Hamas. Protesters set boxes on fire and also chanted slogans while holding Israeli flags and placards. According to officials, minor scuffles broke out between the demonstrators and the police, with some even detained. They were also evacuated from the blazing site while firefighters battled the fierce flames. Around 150,000 people were reported to have taken part in the protests, which authorities claim to be the biggest since the Gaza conflict broke out on October 7.
We should stop the war and bring all the hostages back home, change the government, and make a peace with all the Palestinians, and evacuate the occupied territories. This is the most important thing. Every week we stand here, twice a week, we stand here in Tel Aviv and hold up our signs and try to make people be aware of the occupation.
We head now to Paris, where a similar situation was reported, but with no fire outbreak or clashes. The daytime protest saw thousands of pro-Israeli supporters and members of the French Jewish community gather at the Place Victor Hugo in Paris, demanding the release of hostages and protection for the local Jewish community. Protesters could be seen waving Israeli and French flags while singing and dancing to pop songs. The rally comes shortly after the recent incident of the rape of a 12-year-old Jewish girl in Cabavroy, which highlights the danger faced by the Jewish community in France. 2 French teenagers have been charged with assaulting the girl, causing widespread outrage and leading to protests by Jewish groups against rising anti-Semitism in the country. Well, they're not just footwear, but they're symbols of hope to commemorate millions of children killed in the ongoing fighting between Israel and Hamas. Activists in the Netherlands displayed thousands of pairs of shoes to bring attention to the deaths of children in the Gaza Strip. The event was organized by members of the Plant an Olive Tree charity, which was founded in 2015. The charity works for peace in Palestine, as well as equality for all civilians.
We're trying to reach everybody to just show what it looks like when 16,000 children have been murdered, and to show how urgent it is that we all stop this genocide. I was just reading out the names, and for me it's also really personal because my family is in Rafah, and I read out the name of our family and I broke. It's just so awful to think that they might be killed at any time, but not only them, the whole Palestinian people are under threat of being murdered, and their houses, their lives, everything is being destroyed. This needs to end.
On a square with 16,000 plus children's shoes to commemorate the children that have been murdered in Gaza. And I really think it's heartbreaking to see it and really to feel what's going actually on in the world. And I think it's heartbreaking. So I don't understand why the world lets this happen.
So I think it's very overwhelming to see all those shoes that represent the children that have been killed. And it's not just the children, of course. We also have a lot of others, like adults, their mothers, their fathers, that are being killed. So this is just a fraction of what we see as the number of victims in Gaza.